discover new talents? And how do you even know what your talents are? I think that this kind of goes with the verse in the New Testament that talks about God has given us talents and we shouldn't bury them in the ground, because there's going to be a day where he comes and he gives account of what he's given us. And also there's a passage that talks about a several ability, and he actually gives some a greater ability than others, and that can seem unfair. Well, how come they have the gift of this, and we have the same gift, but they're so much better at it than I am? And boy, do I feel that way about some things. I just look at some amazing pianists and think, how in the world do they even move their fingers that fast, and how do they think that so quickly? And I feel in writing, you just do what is in front of you, even if you only have two of the several ability. You're just like, well, I'm gonna take my two talents and make the best of it. But what if you're in a position where you think, I don't even have any talents, let alone two of what of a talent or an ability? I'm completely at a loss here. And I think that when you first are starting out into your independence, and my heart is for you coming out in your independence, and you probably have recognized if you're good educationally, because that's what you've been in your whole life. And I was discussing with somebody who came for a visit to our house the idea of the 10,000 hours, or they call it the outlier, that really somebody who's excellent at something is because they were born in a situation to where it propelled them environmentally to be better at that. For instance, the example this person gave was that running backs in football, a lot of them are third-born children. And the premise of that hypothesis is that they were chasing after their older siblings, and so it just made them naturally faster because that's what they've done their whole life. And you know what? There is some credence to environment. For instance, my husband wasn't raised in a super musical family. They did listen to good music, but they were more of talk show, like political radio shows that they listened to just as much as music, but their parents didn't grow up in church, and so his parents didn't sing very much, and so he didn't sing very much. But my children have grown up with piano lessons since they were 7, and we've always had good quality music playing around the house, and we sing while we listen to Patch the Pirate while we're doing dishes at night. So there's just always been music, and there's been training from the get-go. And so my son is 10 years old, and he can carry a part in his head, and and you think, what creates that? A lot of it is your environment. And so you'll see missionaries having children who are missionaries, and I was a pastor's daughter, and I knew how to do the things of the ministry. It was really abnormal. It felt awkward to not be in a ministerial position when I married into a layman scenario, because it wasn't what I'd always done, and it felt really weird. So then how did I end up here? And there is a point to this. I just want you to understand that sometimes you are predisposed into a gift just by how you grew up. And sometimes you didn't grow up in a situation where there seemed to be any natural abilities that would be useful in ministry or even in the workplace. And I kind of look at those. You can use skills that, like for instance, sales, the personality to go out and reach somebody else, that can be useful in ministry because you have that boldness to overcome the fears and things that go in your mind when you want to go to witness to somebody. And so that is a ministerial skill that you can learn and grow in. Not that soul winning is sales, it's not for profit or for numbers, but just the boldness inside of you to overcome really what's going on in here. But you can also use that in a business scenario. In my case, I am more a creative, and you hear the term starving artist. It's not there because it's made up. It's because usually it's rare that a person can use some level of the arts to make a living. There are some, but it's not as many as that are gifted in art. So then is that a wasted talent, or can you use that in the ministry somehow? And I think that a lot of the arts are used in the ministry. And how would you use drawing or watercolor painting in the ministry? Kids ministries. And you can draw pictures for the story times. You can draw them pictures that they can color that have to do with your stories. You can give them something to do that helps them to learn those things. So understand that you have things within you that you probably enjoy doing, and you just have to be creative as to how do I use that in the ministry. So that being said, a lot of this is on you. How do you discover your talents? By being useful. And I have a video that says, singles, what ministries might you be overlooking in your church or in general? And that is a good video for you to kind of look and say, where can I be used? How can I be used in the church that I'm in? And most of what I have learned has been just because it's been needed. For instance, I have done the past several book covers for my husband and I, but we didn't start out that way. We hired somebody, and then I watched the process of how they did that, and I thought, I could probably do that. And then that person was no longer available. I thought, yeah, I can do that. And so I got Adobe Photoshop, and I used the same process, and it was just reverse engineering. And as I did it, I thought, this comes really naturally for me, and I can spend hours doing this and totally enjoy it. It doesn't feel like work at all. And then when I started doing the YouTube videos, and I had to get software to create videos, which I'd never done before, and I started doing it, and I thought, okay, this makes sense. And you reverse engineer it. You go and you learn, how did somebody who knows how to do this really well do it? And then how do I apply that to what I'm doing? And so you just continue to say, what needs to be done, and how can I figure that out? And I wouldn't have said 20 years ago that I was gifted in video editing or graphic design. I would have never thought that I would have made CDs, and it wasn't in my mind at all. But as each opportunity presented itself, I just said, okay, all right, let me see if I can figure that out. And it's been a lot of work, and sometimes I cried, and nobody else is going to do it, so I might as well. And then you just build a little bit, and then you grow a little bit more in that. And then you realize that you had just a little ability, and now it's grown to this much of an ability. And then as you practice it and you do it more, and you're more useful, and you think, oh, now that part's really easy. I can't believe I ever thought that was hard. And then it grows and grows, and you think, oh, I understand this. I wonder if I can work in web design. And it just slowly builds. So then I think that it's more retrospective, where you see, wow, I guess I really am built for that. And it was just the other day that I have said for years that I think on graph paper. I keep a notebook of graph paper because I design things and I think in outline form. And I was looking at all the personalities for the Enneagrams, and it said that my particular personality is in the top 2% of creatives, especially in women, and are really, really built for design. And I thought, here I've been doing this whole time, and now I have something saying, you're really good at design. I was like, well, that's kind of neat. But when I was starting out, I would have never thought that. I remember working in my counseling courses, and I had to take how to teach elementary, how to teach high school, how to teach singles. I thought, why am I doing this? I want to be a counselor. I do not want to be a teacher. I hated school. No way am I going to be a teacher. And here I am homeschooling my 5 children, and counseling is teaching. That's teaching in a very small, directed one-on-one scenario, or in this one, to whomever listens. So I say that because when you are first starting out in life, you probably are not going to figure it out. What are you good at? Unless you were raised in an environment, like I was talking about my children, they will probably be seen as talented in music, but that's just because you know what you were raised in. Same thing with people who are really good at math. It's rare to have a child who's very, very intelligent in math who didn't have somebody in their environment to lead them on that path. And you'll see those, and those are the outliers and that whole thing. What I would recommend is to watch that video on the ministries that you might be overlooking, ministries that you might be missing, and really ask and say, where is there a need? How can I help? And then find what you enjoy in that. And you probably will recognize that, for instance, when I first got married, I got caught up in an MLM selling beauty products, and I am not a salesperson at all. I don't even like stuff, and I really dislike sales. Anyways, so I bought all of this stuff, and the lady's like, and this is how you set up parties, and you can hand out these things, and I spent hours designing the invitations. Hours, and it was so fun, and hours on the marketing and the graphics side of it. But it wasn't until years later that I looked back and I thought, look at that, me hating sales but loving design. So I think that you will probably start to see what you love, what could take up hours of your day, and you think, oh no, now I have to go do my responsible things, and then it will reveal itself. That being said, continue to learn. And if you look at the books on self-improvement and success and good habits, one of the things that successful people have in common is that they never stop learning. And that probably is because you'll see that once you've accomplished something, then you need to do the next thing to kind of grow that thing. And so it's just a natural part. Oh, now I have to do this, so I have to learn and figure out how to do that. And it's I wouldn't say it's a habit, it's a purposeful mindset of, I'm never going to stop learning. I'm going to consistently look and say, how can I improve my situation? Who is it that's doing this better than me? And how can I learn from them? And you just keep doing that. That's how you increase your talents. You look at who's better than you. You be humble. You look at people who you might even think you're better than in that situation, but they can teach you something that they might be good at that you missed. Always continue to learn. Ask questions. How did you do that? Ooh, what do you think about that? Now, what have you thought about this? Now, I don't really know how to do this. Have you ever seen anybody who knows how to do this? Be curious, be a learner, but also, most importantly, be available and willing to do the really crappy jobs that nobody else wants to do. And then figure out how to do them really, really well, and you will become awesome at it.